We have 45 to 65 million functional illiterates in this nation, in a first world country that spends all this money on education. There's just no excuse for it. Our kids don't know history, they don't know Western civilization, they don't know astronomy, they haven't read the classics. So, I mean, we've been in a big mess, and it's all thanks to government intrusion into our schools. So if Trump can close that Department of Ed, that will be a big deal. In my opinion, it's the first step, the first thing that needs to be done. We need to get special interest groups out of our schools. Government unions, Trump is very aware that the so-called teacher union is very corrupt and damaging our kids and our country. So if I was able to whisper in his ear, I would say, let's bring down these government unions. Let's start with the teacher unions. If we could get them and the special interest groups out of our schools and just return our schools to parents and the teachers that they choose to hire for their neighborhood, we could restore our schools overnight. So I hope he's able to close that Department of Ed. It's a good start.
Sometimes when people hear something like, you know, a whole department getting closed down, they get worried, they start wondering, what does that mean? What's your response to people who might, or like what's a common misconception that people might have about closing a department like that, and what's your response to people who might be worried about what that looks like and what maybe they don't understand about it?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I think a lot of people are worried because they don't have the understanding. The first thing I would say is go back to what I was just sharing, that our founders never intended to have a national Department of Education. So it's already unconstitutional. The second thing I would remind them that all of our standards have fallen, all of our scores have fallen. I mean, our nation's in big trouble because our schools are such a mess. So I would say keep that in mind, and then think back, well, none of these people were alive before the unions and well, they were alive before the Department of Ed, but they weren't alive before the unions took over in the late 1800s. So they don't realize what our schools were like before. It used to be that Americans were, our educational system was the envy of the world. It was incredible. It's how we became such an amazing nation. And our founders told us the only way we keep our free republic is with a well-educated and moral citizenry that can self-govern. So I think a lot of people don't realize how critical it is to rescue our schools. And I think they also don't realize how much the federal Department of Ed and many of the state Department of Eds have destroyed our very educational system. So what I would do is try to help those people to understand the destruction that has come from the Department of Ed and many of the state Department of Ed, and to help them to understand that we used to do a whole lot better job at a whole lot more local level